My old 1711. Yeah, he was here, he came with me. So he's been here 32 years and he's still going strong. It's had a few updates, 1 or 2 pistons put in, so yeah, it's done its job, it's worked hard and it's still going strong.
Thank you for watching One of Nine. We're here today in gorgeous, glorious day in Cornwall with Sarah. And Sarah is married to David. Yep. And they had a dozen children.
Yeah, for our sins we had 12.
Isn't that lovely? And
yeah.
Sarah, so when did you come to this farmhouse?
So we've been here now for 32 years. Yeah, 32 years.
And when you came, you had 8 children, was it?
Yeah, 8 children. So before we lived in a farmhouse, it was just 3 bedrooms. We had 8 children. So we're quite relieved to move here. Had a few more bedrooms. And yeah, so since we've moved here, we've had 4 more children, twins at the end.
And it was when you moved here with the 8 children and then David took on this sort of bigger farming job, you decided to start a bakery.
Yes, yeah, we decided to start a bakery. Just really to make ends meet, because rearing a family isn't cheap, is it? You do need some sort of form of an income other than just farming. This farm isn't a big farm. It wasn't a big farm when we first arrived here. It was just over 100 acres. So 100 acres wouldn't really bring in enough of an income to rear a family, so an increasing family.
Did you rope the children in to help out early days?
Of course we did, yeah, of course we did. So they all know how to bake, they all know how to look after themselves.
And we see that this is going on 24/7, like the bakery is always going.
Well, no, 24/6.
Oh.
24/6, because we don't work on a Sunday. Well, we sort of do, because we have lots of family around on a Sunday, so we sort of still use the bakery, but it's more for things like barbecues and feasts, because the Catholic Church has lots of feast days, don't we?
Oh, we
have
do.
lots of feast days.
We do.
Yeah, we have lots of gatherings.
And so you know, rearing 12 children, some people would say, you know, you're going to be worn out and tired and just...
Yes, that's true.
Did you feel that way?
Well, in the Cornish air, I think we're let off from that a little bit. So I think the Cornish air is quite reviving. Don't get too much sleep, but who cares?
Having 8 children in the 3-bedroom house.
Yeah, that worked.
And you're willing still to keep going.
Yeah, because it was a farmhouse. There were lots of sort of nooks and crannies. So we put up bunk beds in odd places. And so our children now would say, "Oh, Mum, I remember sleeping in that little nook under the stairs or something," you know. So yeah, I mean, the Lord's always looked after us. You know, He knows what He's about. We've always said the rosary with the children. Yeah, so we incorporate it into our prayers. So even if it's just a decade to start with, you know, when they're little, and then gradually expanded it to the whole rosary. And I mean, David's great. He's great, my husband, with the rosary. He probably says about 4 or 5 in a day. Yeah.
And he's a convert as well, isn't he?
He's a convert, yeah. They make the best Catholics. Yeah, they make the best Catholics.
They do, they help us.
Hi there.
Hi guys. Should we go now? Down there? We're with Teresa and Josephine and their sisters, and they're 2 of 12 siblings.
We are.
You are, and we're not gonna find out which one's older and which one's younger, but
You can probably tell the more mature one.
You remind me of my like close sister, and how you, like, last night I saw you working, you were sort of like finishing each other's sentences and just like in sync with each other without realising.
I tend to take over Josephine's sentences. Poor Josephine doesn't get hardly a word in. Mum said I was a very quiet baby because she would always speak for me.
Isn't that lovely? That does happen, doesn't it?
Yep.
Teresa, you've got a lovely little brood of 5.
I have, yeah.
And Josephine, you've got a lovely little brood of 5 and another little,
Yeah.
a little bun in the oven. Excuse the pun whilst we're here at the farm and the bakery. And you are working a bit together now, aren't you?
A little bit, yeah. Twice a week. It's like our mother get together whilst we're working.
And then you're also working together in homeschooling.
Homeschooling once a week. The children come together for music. We normally be on a Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
So they all have like 15 minutes, half an hour music lessons separately, you know, by themselves. And then
What do you do with the others when they're doing
So
that?
it's normally we do when they're in and out of music, we do some art with them, and we and some gardening. We have a lady that is volunteered from our church who will come and just do some gardening with them. Someone else having a bit of an input, and when it's not just us, it gives them someone else to look forward to in the week, and it gives them a good focus for that one day in the week when they can be just away from, well, I'm away from home, Teresa's still at home, but
Great.
it's good for them.
So this is the big farmhouse that we're in now.
It is, yeah.
That you mostly grew up in. So when Mum and Dad had 8 children, that's when they moved.
I've been here all my life.
And so you were here
Yeah.
forever.
We moved away for about a year, and then we came back. We had 2, Grace and Sarah at the time, and they, because everyone had moved out apart from John, so like, well, we were the ones that came back. Lucky Mum and Dad. So they've been very generous in giving us that space. Yeah, they have. very, very blessed to have them.
But it's lovely, like we come here and just get a feel for like the whole family working together, and there's a real teamwork, like for want of a better lovely phrase, but there is so much teamwork going on. You're all like sort of doing some hours in the bakery, and then John's like doing one of his jobs, and then he comes back and does a bit, and then different ones popping in and out.
Yeah.
And your mum and dad working really hard.
They work really hard.
They do work
very hard.
Yeah. And they've inspired you.
Yeah, they have. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we are. We give them thanks every day that we're here, because I think we all of us love to do things with our hands, like more practical things, as well. Some have more like in-depth jobs, but we all are doers. We all want to do things, but that's thanks to mum and dad for guiding us in that and being such a lovely example.
I've always sort of like had this mental triangle in my head that's got like house, children and sanity. And you can like pick two. But I feel like your mum's got it all together. She's got it all. Like the house is absolutely beautiful. Order and condition and like the routine.
She likes order.
But
I do too now.
Yeah.
I think that it's, and I'd like the same for my children. So my children now are starting with the general routines of the day.
Yeah. Which are based around meals or based around?
So it's get up at say 6 to 6:30. Then it's prayers before anything else. We say our prayers. Then it's breakfast and a little bit of play. Well, actually they'll help clear up as well. It's all part and parcel of, sometimes it's mummy, but it's holiday time. Like what? So I have to do all the work? I think no, pull your weight through holiday times as well. So they are, in a routine, a good routine. Yeah.
And then even sleep times with the baby, I heard you saying that.
Yeah, it's 6 till 6 night time, and she's 6 months, so that's fantastic. 2 sleeps in the daytime, normally an hour to 2 hours each. So she's a
what
wonder
times
baby. 10 till kind of 12, and then 2 till kind of 4, roughly, on a rough guess. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, and then you work around there, and that helps with the homeschooling as well, I imagine.
Exactly, because she goes down about 10, so I've got 2 hours solid that I can give the children, give or take 10 minutes or so, where I can really give that to the children.
Yeah.
I mean, even when she's awake, she's there and she's happy on the floor, playing or in a seat. She's such a good baby. It really helps.
Yeah.
But we have a routine. Yeah. We all like to be up before 7, and because I know then we can get on with our day. We say our prayers first and have breakfast, and then they also help with the clearing up. We did start saying, right, you can dry up or wash up 10 items each, and then I had them coming in saying, Mummy, how many today? I was like, no, you can just do it all today. I'm not going to number it, because I was starting to ask, like, put it to a number rather than be willing just to do it all. So we kind of, you find little ways where you think, okay, maybe that wasn't such a good idea to say that. But
sometimes it's like a way in, isn't it? Way in, and then because I've found that as well. I say 5 minutes or everyone pick up 10 things each, and I think it's not done. I've now got to pick up loads of them.
I'd have to need yourself doing it.
Then, but we've got to just start somewhere, don't we?
Yeah. Well, because I've got 4 that I school at the minute. Michael, my youngest, he is. He's nearly 4, so however, he's already listening in and cottoning on to what I'm teaching the others. I think I'm going to have to miss out reception for him, because he's just picking it all up from sitting on my knee and listening in. So I kind of split them into 2. So the 2 eldest I send off to do their reading time, and then I do work with the 2 younger ones and do their literacy and their maths, and then we'll swap over. So they'll go off and do either a bit of playtime for Christopher, he's only 6, so once he's done his literacy and maths, he gets a bit of playtime. And then Lucy can go and do her reading. And so
is Lucy your oldest?
Lucy's right in the middle. So I got 4 boys and a girl. Lucy's right in the middle. Josie's got 2 boys, a girl and 2 boys. And I've got 2 girls, a boy and 2 girls. I don't know how and why it worked like that.
So you're about to find out what you're going to have next week.
Exactly, that's what my husband said. That's what my husband said. Daniel said, oh, you'll know what you're having next then. Thank you.
And do you find out what you're having before you have the baby?
No.
Is that a strict family rule? Like no one does it?
I could have done, but I don't. No, I was really tempted this time, knowing that Michelle's due the same week as me. But I thought, no.
And that's the sister-in-law who's married to your brother John.
Yes. And so I thought, no, I really won't, because I've not done it with the others. There's no reason for me to find out. It's just curiosity. And actually, in the end, I thought, it's a sacrifice not to find out, because I really, it's everyone's curious as to what it could be and wants to prepare for a girl or a boy. And I was thinking, well, no, I want to be happy with what God gives me on the day. You know, I don't want to have to prepare for a boy or a girl. I want to be pleased with accepting whichever one it is when they come. So that's just how I look at it. I mean, obviously others are happy to find out and things. So
yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? But it is like quite a decision to make, isn't it? Like, and everyone will have to make that decision.
yeah.
Because we found out once when we'd had the few boys, and then I'd had Lani many years before, and then I thought, and I think maybe if it's a girl, and I thought, oh, do you know what? When the baby comes, I don't want to go up to the loft, and then had to sort out all the things. And actually, just in life at this time, I want to find out. So we did, and it was Jemima, and she was a girl, and what a girl, and but then afterwards, then I thought, actually, I've had a boy recently, I've had a girl recently. Whatever, and now we sort of do surprises.
A lot of people this time said, oh, I bet you're hoping for a girl. And I thought, well, I'd love a girl. Because I mean, it's really nice for Lucy. At the same time, I'm praying above all that I won't be ungrateful if it's a boy, because that's what God wills. Maybe he wants me to have the boys. You know? If it is, then that's what it'll be. Trying to get my head around how I'm going to homeschool with one, my eldest is starting secondary school level, so year 7. I've got the other 3 to think about. Michael, thank goodness, is not quite at school age yet, so he can just still sit and listen and gather information. And then I got the baby to think about. I don't know what we're going to do about this, but we'll see.
So what did you do last time?
With Michael, he came along the year I had taken my elder 2 out of school to homeschool them. Okay. So that was about 4 years ago. We muddled through. We got in actually we did have moments when I felt, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this, because I was just starting off with homeschooling, and then the baby came along, and but every time I felt like I was falling or failing, I turned to Our Lady, or even sometimes I really felt she was picking me up without me asking, and I felt like Our Lady was just lifting me up and saying, don't worry. I turned to just say, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. I know this is what God wants of me, to homeschool my children, and it's a real effort. But I just felt her lifting me up, and it's those little moments of faith, and those little times when God shows you it's all right, you're doing fine, you can do this, that you think, that's a real grace, you know, and I'm sure I can keep going with God's help. So, and so I'm looking back at those days, especially when Michael was a baby, and thinking, I'm sure it'll be the same this time. Every time I feel like I can't keep up, or with my boys' year 7 work, or I feel like I'm not doing them well in their schooling, I think, no, look to Our Lady, and I'm sure she'll guide me through. So, and
sometimes I think God probably wants us just to jump in first and to show willing.
Yes.
And just think, I don't know how, but I know I'm going to trust. Here goes. And then, and Teresa, you've done this not so long ago.
No, it was a tough time.
6 months ago.
Yeah, just 6 months ago.
But it wasn't just having the baby and getting on with life.
No, it wasn't, because when I found that I was expecting Helen now, Oliver, so I was halfway through it, I get very, very sick. Like really, really sick. And this time I just felt awful. The whole entire pregnancy I wasn't feeling well. And then we discovered that kind of in October time, my son, he started having seizures. So he would be unresponsive, he would just go floppy, he would be sick, pale, just wouldn't respond. And when I was sick, and as a child, will he come back out of what he's going through? We had no idea what it was. Anyway, it turned out it was something like, I know, we've only really just found out in the last 2 months that he now has epilepsy. So now he's on medication daily, trying to keep up with that. But while I was expecting, it was trying to manage schooling. I had a son who, thankfully, he's still young, so he's in reception. However, needs teaching. He's still not able to. I've been potty training him for months, years, and he's still just goes around wetting himself. It's really, really.
Reminders.
Yeah. I have my timer on like every half an hour, you know, just so that he'll be dry, and it's getting through one day at a time, knowing, is he going to have a fit today? And then it would mess him up, so he would be super tired. He would play up because he, you know, didn't understand. He couldn't tell me what was wrong and how he was feeling. So as a mother, it's how do you manage him? You know, because he was being naughty. He was behaving like in a manner that he's never behaved before, because he's a really good boy. You know, and I was just thinking, you know, I just asked for heavenly help. I said, please, you know, Heavenly Mother, help me through this, because
the only way I'm going to manage is by help. And certainly, I've had a lot of heavenly help with that. So once I'd had Helen, she was brilliant. She arrived within a couple of hours. I've never had such an easy labour. I then went into hospital with a huge infection, which was Group B streps, and that was.
And how old was Helen?
Helen was 8 days old. So I'd had a week of feeling okay. I just assumed my symptoms were normal after delivery,
Yeah.
and it turns out that after lying in bed with 2 hot water bottles, about 10 duvets, my dressing gown,
God,
and I
yeah.
was still cold. I was freezing. My husband's like, "What's wrong?" And then I got up and I could hardly walk. I couldn't just about get myself to the bathroom. And I was probably at a collapsing point. Just like that, in an afternoon I went downhill so fast.
And that was when Helen was 8 days old. And you were breastfeeding?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I still did my best to breastfeed through that. The nurse had to pass me the baby. I almost collapsed in hospital. I didn't think I'd make it. It's a miracle that I'm really here, because my husband, he was worried, and I could see myself going, and I gave myself over to Our Lady and said, look, I know that it's not, I can't. I've got my family, I've got a baby, I simply can't. And she just, no, the nurses put me on the bed because I was at the point where I was about to collapse completely and in a heap, and then somehow I just pulled back. Yeah, it was a really, really difficult time.
So how long were you in hospital?
I was in hospital for a week. Yeah.
And when you're in, you don't know how long you're going to be in for.
I just thought it'd be a couple of days.
Forever.
The minute they put me on IV antibiotics, and then it was, do I breastfeed? Because I've got a baby to feed. In fact, she's I'm going to have to go. I'm going to go and get it.
And what's Christmas like in the family? Does everyone come back together? This lovely big 9-foot table is put to very good crowded use.
It is. It varies Christmas to Christmas because of who's in with their in-laws and who's not. So but there's generally always someone with mum and dad. So but if there's not everyone around for Christmas Day, then New Year's Day or Epiphany would be a bigger celebration, when most of the family would come. We always have a lovely Epiphany tradition of giving everyone a little present each on Epiphany. So that probably most years would be the bigger celebration than Christmas here because of everyone going to their in-laws for Christmas. Yeah. So, but it is really lovely to have that big family.
Lots of marriages, at least lots and lots.
Yes.
And then a religious sister as well, your little baby sister Mary.
Yeah, what a lovely example she is. I'm so thankful for her prayers too. I often ring her, and like some people who either don't practice their faith or don't have a faith as such, who have known her, keep asking, oh, how's Mary doing? I said, I speak to her on the phone and she's just like her bubbly self. The religious life hasn't changed her. It's actually, she's just still herself.
We do have a good rep, to be fair.
Yeah.
Other bakeries don't serve as many as we do. Because Mum makes the best ones around.
Who's the saffron master?
I would say it was Mum.
That's simple granola, so it's just basically toasted oats and butter and stuff like that. Yeah. All theirs. These are smaller pack, but that's what we call luxury granola, but it's got all the fruit and nuts and everything in that one. Bunch of muesli.
It's quite a small market, probably like 8 or 9 stalls, but like, you know, proper core producers, like, yeah, a few local farmers and stuff down there. It sounds like a lot, 200 acres, but to actually work a farm that size, it's, you know, you're going to need to do something else or be very, like, specialised in something. Do you know what I mean? So,
So 200 acres is small.
it's not, yeah, it's not big in the farming world, really. Yeah. Yeah.
So what sort of like big farms you have? How many acres?
So our cousins are up in Cumbria. They've got,
Wow,
they own quite a lot of.
Your mum's side.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Susan, my mum's sister, and her family. They've got a big family up there as well. A few different farms that they kind of own and run. So.
Yeah.
But their main farm was, I'd say, like, I want to say it was well over 1,000 acres. Might be a couple of thousand. So, yeah. Although a lot of that is fell land, so it's not particularly like productive. But they'll run the sheep out there, and yeah, and they make a living from farming. Like that's you know, that's enough to get, you know, to feed a family, I guess.
And that's 200 acres you need for doing the beef farm.
So we are
Or
on
any
this
kind of
farm. We're
farm.
about 50-50 arable and beef. So maybe a bit more on the beef, but we grow. So this year we've harvested barley, and wheat is one that we usually grow. Although we've got plenty in stock for this year. So this is here for just a backup store for the bakery. We keep excess stock here so that it's not filling the bakery, and it allows us a bit of a buffer in case supply issues come into play. This is all different types of flour. So this isn't our own flour. But we do have our own flour that's milled on the farm, but this is white flour. So that's sort of your basic flour that we put into everything, all of the bread anyways. And you've got granary, a different type of flour. So we've got rye flour, and then we've got organic wholemeal and white flour, and then 2 sort of cake flours, which is self-raising flour and culinary flour. So we make 2 main types of flour that's using this mill. So it's a stone mill, which means it crushes the grains by stones. 2 big stones you can probably see underneath there. You've got the bottom stone. So the bottom stone's stationary while the top stone moves, and that's driven by an electric motor. But with that mill, we make 2 different types of flour. So you've got your sieve flour here, which you might be able to see is your finer flour.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And then wholemeal flour. So you can see there that's sort of the whole grains there. We do actually sieve the wholemeal just to get out the impurities, sort of the larger bits of bran and that sort of thing. So So all the grain that we mill here is from the farm. We don't buy it in, we actually do grow it here. And that's kept in the silo just behind you there. So there's about 40 odd tons of wheat in there. We try and keep it at about that level. Again, it gives us then enough to lasts us years because we don't mill that much. Yeah.
And John, you studied flour at university?
No, I didn't. So I took on from one of my brothers. I've not done any training. I just sort of learnt from my brother and carried it on.
Pay attention! Flesh, skin, hair, blood, grown for the cyborgs. I gotta ditch this car.
16% moisture content. So, for every grain, there's only about 16% moisture content within that grain. So if you keep it below that, it doesn't mould, and the weevils, the bugs, it's too hard for them to bite, so they just won't bother. But if it's above that, it can cause quite big problems. We have had that in the past where the crops haven't come in quite so dry. It's a well-contained silo. It's very dry in here. You can sort of feel, if you go in there, you can get an idea that it's very dry. So it comes through the auger there. So I shovel it to the auger, and then it comes into this hopper through that pipe. And so this fills up, and when the mill's running, I sort of release that, and then there's a little stick in there, and there's a cam that rotates sort of in that fashion, and so the little stick will move in and out, which then sort of hits the grain and makes it fall into the mill at a given rate, and then obviously it gets ground, and your straight whole meal will come out of these. And then if you close those off and open this one, it will go down this chute into the sieving machine. So a conveyor belt with cups will lift it up and over, and then dump it in here. And as I'll show you, you can change the grade of sieve so that you get less or more sort of flour of the grain through. This is a very fine sieve, so that's for our sieved flour. I aim for around 2 weeks stock in the bakery.
John, you're married now.
Yeah.
What? No, not calling Daddy. Daddy very busy, my time. And look, so you did the kind of what would have been normal in the past of give God first choice.
Yeah.
You give him an unusual first choice. It's like Blind Date where they've got 3 people behind the screen.
So I went to Papastronze in the Orkney Islands in Scotland, and the Franciscans of the Immaculate in Italy and in the UK when they were in Gosport.
Does that count as 2 separate options?
I think they're pretty much the same.
And then what was the third?
The third was the Fraternity of St. Peter, so the seminary in America in Nebraska. I went there as well.
And you saw them and thought, they could be the guys for me?
Yeah, I think I was leaning towards, if anything, more active sort of diocesan lifestyle in the religious life, and they seemed to fit the bill pretty well. And I really enjoyed my time there. It was memorable.
Was that an education of sorts as well?
Yeah.
Go on.
Sure, yeah.
It's corny to ask what did you learn, but I suppose those guys up in Scotland would toughen anyone up.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, initially you have a 2-week silent retreat, which is sort of by yourself. So that was tough. And I think by the end of that, I was thinking, gosh, if this is normal, which I think it is normal for them to be quite separated. It's tough, yeah. But
When you say it's tough, you don't strike me as the kind of child that was on mobile phones growing up.
no,
But it's just tough anyway.
yeah, it was just tough anyway. You know, I think when you're away from, well, I felt anyway, I was away from everything that I'd known before, and I sort of realised I didn't understand much about religious life at that point, because I went there and it was an experience.
You must have had a fairly good idea. Men go around saying prayers, doing
Yeah.
laborious chores.
Sure.
But it was different. It was
But
something
it
that.
was just different because it was, I mean, they're on their own island, not really any contact with mainland. They had faithful at the small church on Stronsey, but it would be like 3 people. And I think it was coming from a large family, it's definitely sort of the other end of the scale, really.
A bit of a come down.
Yeah.
Were they your first date, or were Americans?
The Franciscans were. I went to them first.
And that was very different to.
Did
Did they all shift you into solitary confinement?
No. So the Franciscans were more active. They were more parish based. Obviously, they had the contemplative part of their day, but it was sort of the morning that they would say their prayers. You know, you'd be up at 4:45, and you'd say your morning prayers, matins, that sort of thing before Mass, and I think Mass would be at 7:30. Then you'd have Mass, and then you'd sort of get going in your day, and that would involve chores, and you know, like at Papa Stronsey, you'd have your chores and your jobs, but I think it's the fact sort of you're in mainland UK, and there are people around you. You know, you go out to the high street there in Gosport, you've got people all around, that sort of thing, which makes a big difference. Certainly for me. I mean, I'm not social by any means, but it made a big difference in my discernment as to how much interaction I had with people.
And so that must have been more like what you imagined religious life was.
Yeah, sure.
And had you said to yourself at the start, right, I'm going to go and check out 3 different dates with God and pick the best?
Yeah.
Or had you gone, right, Franciscans, I like that, but not for me?
Sure, I think I had sort of gone, I might have a calling. Where do I start? My twin had entered the Franciscans, I think 2 or 3 years before, and I thought, well, it's sort of a reasonable place to start. So I went there and I visited them a few times, didn't get on, and thought, okay, we had a visiting priest at Lanherne from the Redemptorists, and he sort of said, look, if you want to come up, then just let us know. So I did, a year or so later, and then the fraternity, I thought, okay, this is my last shot. Because I've tried the religious life, I haven't got on with that, and I thought the fraternity is sort of in between. They are contemplative insofar as they live a prayerful life, but they're also very, they're parish based, so you have a lot more interaction with what I guess people would call secular life.
And so ultimately, it wasn't the calling. And when people say they're called, you might think, oh, it's very esoteric, sun breaks through the clouds. But in the end, you just kind of knew it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
Was it quite a case of weighing up pros and cons, or you just kind of knew in your bones?
Yeah, I just figured, it wasn't. It wasn't something that I found I was really enthusing in, and I was trying. I really tried.
You're up for this.
Sort of, I went there very serious and tried, gave it my all, and still just sort of was like, oh well. Sort of, it almost seemed too difficult, I guess, to put it simply. And so I thought, okay, well, and obviously with that comes spiritual direction, and you have that at the seminary, and they guide you. And in the end, we came to the decision that actually, no.
It seemed all parties agreed.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, in the end, it's my decision, but they guide you and tell you sort of, you know, what they think, because they see it from a different perspective. So yeah, all parties agreed, and I thought, great, I've tried, done everything I can,
and then you thought, right, marriage.
Yeah.
Did you get married quite quickly after you must have done this?
Yeah. So I was on Catholic because I met Michelle on Catholic Match online.
Did you go on 3 separate dates with 3 separate women to see which one?
No.
One in Italy, one in Scotland.
Yeah. I went on Catholic Match, started speaking to someone else, but that went dry pretty quickly, and then Michelle liked my profile. She didn't realise I would get a notification, but...
Catholic Match, John, handsome guy. What were his chances?
Audrey, that's enough.
Slim? No, he was Catholic and seemed to take his faith seriously, and obviously comes from a good family, so.
She was in shock when I sent a message to her, but yeah, we got talking and it was interesting. You know, you were bouncing from one to another with questions.
What was your profile? Sieving flour, carrying a cow?
Cracking farmer, great husband to be. You know.
Out of all of them, John's profile definitely kind of spoke to me the most. It was, when I was reading it, I thought, oh, that's like something I would want to write about my faith, or that's the sort of belief that I have.
I mentioned that I had been to seminary, you know, just outlined my basic interests, and I mean, the good thing about Catholic Match is that you could define effectively your Catholic beliefs. So things like, you know, do you believe in transubstantiation, that kind of thing. And I was very surprised to see that...
And some people said no, and I thought, well, they're not Catholic.
Well, why would you go to a Catholic website and then say you don't believe in transubstantiation?
But then I think people want to marry a Catholic even if they don't really practice. So I asked a few people about him, and they said a few good things, and I thought, okay, this is worth a try.
Yeah, so yeah, got talking, and I think within the year we were courting, and I'm not very good with dates.
First date, Michelle?
Well, we did the Camino, part of the Camino in Spain, which was fun, with one of my friends. So the 3 of us went off for 10 days and walked just over 100 kilometres, and then we had Skyped each other, because well, I wouldn't have bothered doing the Camino with them if I didn't even think there was some chance of something.
But about a year later we were married. I've been married for 2 and a bit years now.
Congratulations.
Not only married, expecting a second baby, working for the family.
Yeah.
Was that part of the contract? What do you think about baking, Audrey?
And I said, no, I don't bake. And now I'm in here. I'm not baking right now, but I'm packing. But I have been roped into baking. I told them that I didn't want to do any baking. I don't mind helping out. I don't mind, doing a bit of packing, but I really don't want to bake. But now that I kind of have practiced at it and started doing it, it's actually not so bad. You just kind of keep doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah.
And do you miss your family? Did you think maybe you could have lived near home?
Yeah, definitely miss my family. So it wasn't so bad, and then I got busy working, but then when I had to slow down after I had Anna, it really hit me. Being away from your family.
And then what do you want for your children? What do you see? Do you think they would grow up here in the farm? Would you like them to, do you appreciate the life here and the farming life?
Yeah, I wouldn't have moved here if I didn't appreciate it, or if I didn't see me raising a family here with John. Definitely, he hopes to take on the farm and do farming, and well, I never thought I'd actually be a farmer's wife, but they're pretty big boots to fill. I'll try. But I mean, Anna and this baby, I'm sure, will absolutely love being raised on a farm.
From about 11 o'clock on, it'll start trickling, and then by 1 o'clock, you know, it's like you're really moving. So it'll get quite busy now.
You'll be flat out.
Yeah. No, Chaz will be flat out. Thank you very much. 118. Thank you very much.
Hello.
One saffron bun. Saffron buns always do well. Well, I think we're probably the only ones that actually use real saffron. Most of them use a paste or some such thing. There's a bit of saffron in it, but ours are full on 100% saffron. Okay, thank you very much. Chaz is late. He should be here. He's got stuck in traffic.